You always remember your first time. When the mood is right and true love hits, you just know you have something special. Obviously I'm talking about anime, because there are certainly no other monumental firsts that a man in his 30s with a YouTube channel about children's cartoons would be celebrating. But what more could anybody want? The euphoria of a great first episode that titillates the senses and locks you in is unmatched. But what makes a great first episode? Sometimes it's mystery, sometimes it's anticipation, other times it's pure hype. Often there's a consensus. In recent years, the first episode of The Promised Neverland has been highly regarded by viewers. Quite frankly, I wasn't a big fan of the whole dead children thing, so it didn't really suck me in, but to each their own. The views of many, however, don't dictate the feelings of everyone. Me personally, I saw the first episode of Kujiki no Gash Bell, and even though I'm pretty sure half of it was filler and it had the same budget that I had as a 12-year-old taking my middle school crush out for pizza, I still was instantly hooked. Nah, I'm just kidding. I never went out to pizza with anybody. But Gash Bell is fantastic. Now with that said, what even determines a first episode? Of course you would think it would be the episode that has the little Season 1, Episode 1 moniker next to it on Crunchyroll. For me though, I caught a random episode of Naruto on Cartoon Network where he was doing the sexy jutsu thing for Jiraiya, and truthfully, that's all I needed to go back and watch the rest of the series. Though back in my day, we had to watch episodes of Naruto in 9-minute increments, and it was in like 120p on YouTube. Let's not complicate things though. As great as that random episode of Naruto was, I doubt it was many people's first episode back then, and it certainly wouldn't be anybody's first episode now. Let's talk real deal, great first episodes. No filler, no sexy jutsu. Okay, maybe some sexy jutsu. Oshinoko. This isn't just a good first episode. This is a first episode that knew it was going to be good. Studios don't just throw out hour-long episodes. That's called a movie. This first episode of Oshinoko was Castle in the Sky and Your Name all rolled into one. You could fit like 3 Dragon Ball Z movies into the runtime of this first episode. You had drama, you had laughs, you had waifus, you had songs, and you had a dude that simped so hard that he was murdered and reborn to simp another day. Oshinoko? No. Oshino, holy shit, this is so good. Let's move on to something I don't quite love though. People who have been around this channel know I'm not the biggest Attack on Titan fan. I dropped it in the manga when they killed Hans. Look, I get the whole life is unfair and death waits for no man thing that the series has going on, yet you can't just take away a golden god like Hans. But I digress. Because for all my negative feelings, and generally being somebody who hates violent shows like this, the first episode of Attack on Titan is pretty nuts. I know I said I didn't vibe with the whole dead children thing of Promised Neverland, but I could blast past that in Attack on Titan. Granted, when I first watched the episode, I was under the impression that it was going to be more of an adventure shonen, where they explore the outside walls of the city that has confined them all their lives. And it wasn't that. But still, it was certainly something that got the people hooked. Coolness is also key to a great first episode. In a bygone age, Gurren Lagann was basically the first anime I had watched that wasn't Pokemon, Naruto, or Dragon Ball. And the second I laid eyes on Kamina, I was hooked. He is the paragon of masculinity. He just runs around doing badass shit for 25 minutes and spouts a name dribble that somehow sounds awesome. Don't believe in yourself. Believe in the Kamina that believes in you. Words to live by. It's why I don't even bother having any self-confidence. Let's wrap things up with our most recent entry. One that should come as no surprise to anyone. Gurren Lagann and Naruto made me question my sexuality. Oshinoko kept me on the edge of my seat. Attack on Titan nearly made me watch a gory seinen. But Frieren Beyond Journey's End, that made me feel things. No, not the weird things that sexy Naruto made me feel. Actual feelings? Though also some weird things due to the abundance of foot shots and, more importantly, Himmel. Frieren may seem to be just a tsundere immortal elf girl who thinks 70 years is the equivalent of a weekend trip to the Jersey Shore with the boys, but she's so much more than a tsundere immortal elf girl. Time passes differently for Frieren, but it only takes a moment of loss for her to realize just how much she meant to people. And in that moment she breaks down, I break down. Most of the time I cry because of the whole, being a 30-year-old with a failing YouTube channel thing. But this cry from Frieren, this was a good cry. A cry that made me instantly love this show. A cry that made me feel something for this geriatric elf. And most importantly, a cry that made me want to appreciate the people around me all the more. At least until I watched Shangri-La Frontier. Then I just want to play video games and jam out to the GOAT anime OP. Hell yeah, screw real people. This show is badass. You don't need a story or waifus or all that other nonsense I mentioned for a great first episode. You just need an absolute banger of an OP and a blue penguin head guy. If this was your first S-Class anime episode, hopefully it met your high industry standards. It probably didn't, but you should subscribe anyway.